So my name is Jonathan Akwue. I'm managing partner at Digitas LBI. My lucky break came from a guy who's now done incredibly well, a guy called Robert Senior, who is now Supremo something or other in the Publicis Group, of which I am a part. But back then was one of the founding partners of Fallon. And I had a conversation with Robert's sister, who I was also working with, and she mentioned that her brother was in advertising. And I said, oh really? Because I've always had this interest, and I had the social marketing agency, and I was like, where does he work? And she was like, Fallon. And I was like, Fallon? Because at the time, Fallon was just at its zenith. It was just, doing like the Cadbury's Gorilla and the Sony bouncing balls and all these amazing, and I was like, oh my God, could you introduce me to your brother? Because I'd love to meet him. And I went to Fallon and I realized it was a pretty monochrome sort of place. It was lovely, obviously creative place. And I said, Robert, I know you're working on BBC One Extra, but do you actually know any black people? Like, and, like the audience, for like street music and all, And so, yeah, I was kind of quite candid about it. And I was like, well, maybe I could help sort of give you guys some insights into black culture, black urban culture, because that's the stuff that I was very much involved in. Anyway, Robert said yes, and I worked, and I managed to negotiate a secondment from my work to go and do it, because I thought, hey, I can go and learn how big advertising agencies work compared to the sort of shoestring operation that we were doing. And that was it. That was my lucky break. So I suspect if it wasn't for Robert, I probably wouldn't have had that opportunity. I guess I would have been still in the field, but probably working at a different scale, perhaps. People go, oh, okay, you're similar to me. Oh, you had a similar profile. Oh, you went to the same sorts of, okay, I get you. And there's a rapport, and that is so much of what drives this industry. Now, that is a good thing to a degree, but it is also a bad thing when you end up with groupthink, because when you get too much of the pattern matching, therefore it's just the same color, it's just the same pattern, and therefore there's nothing interesting in that. So that's what we have to actually disrupt that. We have to actively do things to disrupt that process. And that's where we need to help people to understand what unconscious bias is, and then to become consciously aware of what those biases are in order to help overcome it. If you don't bring in people from different backgrounds, if you're only recruiting from the same universities with the same degrees and the same, everybody's the same, and you miss out on what makes life interesting. And we're in the creative industries, and therefore we need difference and different ideas and lateral thinking. So if you're not doing it, you're an idiot. That's the bottom line. Why should you do it? Because otherwise you'll miss out on some amazing talent. The reason why people tend to like someone who's gone through a degree is that they've gone through a process of understanding how to think, and therefore how to respond to a particular question or a brief, which is useful in our industry. But at the same time, it's not. Because again, the danger is you end up with people that all respond in the same way, because they've all been to university. They know how the answer's supposed to go, and so they deliver the answer that people expect, which is fine in another industry, but in the creative industries, maybe not so much. So I'm going to steal Oprah Winfrey's quote, which is, she says, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people, and the way she explains it, which I think is spot on, is a lot of people look at people that have been successful and say, oh, they've been really lucky. But actually, what you don't see is the preparation. Because if the opportunity comes and you haven't prepared, you miss it. And equally, you can be prepared, but the opportunity may not come, right? Which is why people have to provide people with the opportunity. But what we call luck is where preparation meets opportunity. If you're ready and the opportunity happens, you step through it and boom, you go to the next level.